the beginning of man's domestication of the fields, he has toiled to produce food for himself, his family, and his fellow man. Throughout the centuries, man and beast have struggled to produce food for a growing world. Today, huge machines have replaced the beast in American agriculture. Roaring steel giants roll across the fields, tilling the soil, planting the seed, and harvesting the crops. Still, the basic purpose is the same: to produce food for a growing and hungry world. This is the story of one of those foods. A food with a history, a heritage, a future. A food with a purpose. A food for the world. Rice. A magic word for millions of people. The basic food for over half the world's population. Simple existence to some. A luxury for others. A food so basic, so simple, so versatile. It is truly a universal food. The cultivation of rice was mentioned in Chinese records as early as 3000 BC. Rice traveled throughout India, Malaysia, Indonesia, the Philippines. As people wandered in search of trade or conquest, rice followed. The Middle East, the Mediterranean, and on through Africa and Europe. Late in the 17th century, a New England ship returning from Madagascar was damaged by a storm and took refuge in the harbor of the colonial settlement which is now Charleston, South Carolina. In return for the generosity and hospitality extended to his crew, the captain gave the settlers rice for planting. Rice had previously been introduced without success in the New World, but this small amount grew well and became the beginning of today's American rice industry. From Carolina, rice production grew and moved westward in the next 2 centuries. Today, Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, and California produce more than 99% of the United States rice crop. Large, powerful machinery enables the modern American rice farmer to cultivate more land than ever before. The rice crop begins with the breaking of the soil in preparation for planting. The plowing or disking is usually done in the fall season if weather permits. Proper field preparation helps ensure uniform germination of the seed after planting. Special equipment called land planes scrape and shift the soil to level and smooth the field. The land must be smooth to allow an even growth of the crop. The smooth land will still have a gentle slope to allow the field to be flooded and drained when needed. The broken and leveled land must be further prepared for planting. Harrows break the clods of dirt into finer soil, which will allow the rice to grow evenly. Field preparation is a continuing process often governed by weather. Since the smooth field has a slope for water management, small dikes or levees are built so that the water can be maintained at a relatively uniform depth. Planting begins in the early spring, either by a drill or by airplane. Approximately 100 pounds of rice seed are planted on each acre. The farmer will reap 40 to 50 times that much rice at harvest. Many factors, such as soil and climate conditions, are considered by the farmer before he plants his crop. Planting by airplane is a quicker method, preferred by some producers. Rice may be dropped in a dry seed bed or directly into water. In this case, the water is drained for a period of time to allow the rice to grow before a permanent flood is placed back on the field. A good supply of fresh water is extremely important to rice farming. The water is either pumped from deep wells or taken from nearby rivers or reservoirs. It then flows to the field by gravity through a series of canals and ditches. Rice land is covered with 3 to 5 inches of water during most of the growing season to prevent or inhibit the growth of weeds and grasses. During the growing season, the airplane returns to supply the crop with plant food to ensure healthy growing plants. The airplane allows the farmer to treat and protect his crop at the exact time it needs care. As the rice grows to maturity, the farmer maintains a close watch on his field. Agricultural scientists are available for consultation during the growing period. From planting to harvest, rice requires 100 to 180 days, depending on the variety. When the water is drained off the fields and the rice is fully mature, giant combines roll across the field to harvest the crop. Rice must be harvested at a precise stage. Normally harvested with an 18 to 22% moisture level, the rice grain cannot be left in the field to dry as some other crops, and harvesting either too early or too late will result in lower quality. The mechanization of the rice industry is relatively new. Airplanes and combines were not used in rice production until the late 1940s. The combine carefully cuts the rice heads and part of the stalk and then threshes or separates the rice grain from the straw. This modern machine has provided the American rice farmer the means to harvest his crop when it is ready. Another reason American-grown rice has maintained its reputation throughout the world as a high-quality product. When the hopper of the combine is full, the auger wagon or rice buggy is called alongside. The rice is transferred from the combine's hopper or storage space to the auger wagon. When the combine is empty, the auger wagon is pulled by tractor to trucks waiting nearby. Several loads are needed to fill the truck, but with several combines and wagons working in the field, harvesting is soon completed. The trucks transport the rice from the field to the rice dryer. Rice dryers can either be large commercial installations or smaller drying and storage facilities on the farm. At the dryer, the rice is unloaded to be dried and then stored. Moisture is slowly removed from the grain to about a 12% level to make it suitable for storage. There are several methods of rice drying, but the most common drying process involves forcing warm, dry air through the rice. Samples of the rice are taken when it arrives at the dryer. A carefully measured amount is tested for exact moisture content, so the dryer manager will know how to best dry the rice. Once the rice has been dried, samples are checked again and again for quality. Before the rice is sold to a mill, the sales office or dryer manager mills a representative sample in small replicas of rice milling equipment. This allows the rice to be examined for milling yield and quality. There are several methods farmers use to market their crop. Virtually any type of marketing system used in other grain crops can be found within the rice industry. The bid system, however, is relatively unique. Representatives from rice mills examine the process sample. After close examination, they estimate the grade and milling quality and place a value or bid on the rice. The farmer may sell his rice to the highest bidder. There are thousands of varieties of rice grown throughout the world. Approximately 20 are commercially grown in the United States. Improved varieties are constantly being developed by experiment stations in the rice-growing states. All varieties can be classified into three basic groups: long, medium, and short grain rice. All three have different cooking characteristics and are grown in the United States. When the rough or paddy rice arrives at the mill, the first process is to remove the hull or husk. This product is called brown rice and can be shipped or packaged in this edible form. The product known as regular milled white rice is produced by machines which rub the brown rice grains together under pressure to remove the outer bran and polish layers. The actual machinery used in different rice mills may vary, but the process is the same. The rice is constantly cleaned, sorted, and checked, both before and after the milling process, to ensure that the highest grade and quality is produced. Some American mills parboil rice prior to milling. This process gelatinizes the starch and allows the retention of much of the vitamins and minerals. In the modern American parboiling process, the rough or paddy rice is placed into large tanks. Vacuum is used to extract the air surrounding the kernel. The tanks are filled with heated water, which dissolves the minerals and vitamins in the bran layer. Air pressure is applied to force the dissolved nutrients into the kernel. The water is drained from the tank. Steam is injected to secure the nutrients inside the kernel. Another vacuum is used to remove the moisture from the grain. The rice is carefully dried by warm air, which hardens the starch, then cooled and milled. Parboiled rice requires a little more liquid and slightly longer cooking time than regular milled white rice and results in separate, fluffy grains. Pre-cooked rice is produced by some American mills and should not be confused with parboiled rice. Pre-cooked rice has already been cooked and then dehydrated and requires only adding water and heating rather than full cooking. The rice is checked and sorted again before packaging. Rice mills can do this either mechanically or electronically. These electronic sorters separate the rice into lines of single grains which pass in front of an electronic eye. If a grain is not satisfactory, a short burst of compressed air ejects it. American rice is packaged in either bags or cartons to be placed on the market shelf. Combining modern mechanization with the natural protection of the hull, the rice is grown, harvested, processed, and packaged cleanly, contamination-free. American rice is grown, processed, and sold throughout the United States, and the high-quality product is in demand all over the world. The actual amount varies from year to year, but approximately 2/3 of the U.S. rice crop is exported to over 100 countries, making the U.S. one of the world's leading exporters of rice. Some of the rice destined for export is placed in 100-pound bags immediately after it has been milled. Rice is also exported in packages. Not all rice is exported in its milled form. Quantities of brown rice with just the outer hull removed are shipped in bulk to be milled in other countries. But whether it is destined for use abroad or in the U.S. market, the high-quality rice is in demand. The economical and versatile features of American rice give a special flavor and texture to favorite dishes. From the time the rice is planted and grown in the ideal climate and soil, till the time it is harvested and processed for the tables of the world, it is produced with the consumer in mind. American-grown rice is always available and easily fits into the homemaker's food budget. Rice makes even the great dishes taste better, and the versatility of this staple food makes it easy to include rice in any menu. American rice, a high-quality grain produced by a highly mechanized modern agricultural industry. American rice, a food with a purpose, a food for the world.